Hi, and welcome back to a very special edition of Masterclass Monday, because today we're going to detour from the musical theater part of it and talk a little bit about Prevailure. Because in this world, and in fact, in my entire life, things roll and roll and roll, and things are going very successfully, and then all of a sudden, bam, a brick wall. And so what do you do? Before we get going, I just want to remind you all to like and subscribe if you would. And one of the questions I'm going to be asking you to contribute is, tell me some of your Prevailure stories. When things seem to shut down and things don't really go the way you want them to do, what do you do to survive? And that's what this year, 2020, is all about, survival. Now, in the course of my life, I was very, very lucky. In high school, I was recognized as a potential talent, not just as an actor. I had a great teacher, Juliet Guthrie, who allowed me to be Billy in Carousel. I was probably the world's youngest Henry Higgins. And then after high school, I did some summer stock theater, a place called Jenny Wiley Summer Music Theater, where I saw the value of not only performing on stage, but also working backstage and what it was to be a member of the crew. And that led to 2 fantastic years at the University of Alabama, where Ed Williams, who was head of the theater department, saw tremendous potential in me as well. In fact, he once said that the sun always shines on Chuck Wagner, and knock wood, I still believe that. So whether or not he says that to everyone, I don't know, but he certainly made me believe in myself. And 2 summers there, I worked at a place called the Lost Colony, where I met my wife, Susan. Joe Layton, the great director, told me if I was serious about the business, I had to go to either New York or Los Angeles. And because there's a beach in Los Angeles, I decided I would take a chance and audition for the department at the University of Southern California. And there I met John Blankenship, who was head of the theater department, also with his co-chair, Bill White, and had a very good audition. And they welcomed me in. That and a lot of money from my father and my grandparents got me into USC. The first day I signed in, I overheard them say they just cast this beautifully tall woman, Madeline Smith, in this new show, and that they would need somebody tall who could sing. So I saw my opportunity. I stuck my head in and said, "Excuse me, I can." And so I was cast as the starring role in a musical called Christopher, which was the first show ever written by Frank Wildhorn. While I was there, John Houseman, the legendary Mercury theater director, was head of the department while he was doing Paper Chase in Los Angeles. And I know this seems vaguely disjointed, but I'm just showing you a snowball of success that happened. Right after my 4 years of college, I was cast on ABC's General Hospital as Randall Thompson, the executive secretary to Mr. Quartermain at ELQ. And my first day at work at the Gower Street Studios, I'm driving my car and I get pulled over and arrested because I have outstanding parking tickets at the University of Southern California for all those years, where I would just park wherever I felt like it. So lesson to students, don't park wherever you want to. The police will eventually catch up with you. So I'm trying to go to work. I explained to them, I've got to go. It's my first day. I can't lose this job. It's such a big deal. And so they took me in handcuffs down to the studio, explained the situation. They took a collection around backstage to bail me out. And so I was freed and able to make my first appearance as Randall Thompson, what could have been the wall. With reaching out to the community, I was able to prevail. So first step toward Prevailure was right there, and I'm making it, well, actually, everything that I've done has all been done because of my community of friends, and I couldn't do any of it by myself. I've been given the gift to be able to be on stage and to perform, but without the advantage of having people who love and care about me, none of this would happen. And so that's the key message to Prevailure. While on General Hospital, I met this fantastic agent named Leon Raper, who got me an audition for this new series that Glenn Larson was producing. And Glenn had famously produced Battlestar Galactica and Knight Rider and Magnum P.I. and tons of things. And the show was called Automan. Basically, I didn't think I had a chance. I was given the gift. And so, ba-boom, I'm starring in a TV show on ABC for 20th Century Fox. And we are shooting 13 episodes, and even at the 13th episode, we thought we were going to be picked up, and then at the last minute, boom, wall comes up. Oh my God, what are we going to do now? And so we had to rethink. And fortunately, not long after that, I got a chance to audition for The Three Musketeers on Broadway, and Joe Layton, who I had met at the Lost Colony. It's all about connections. It's all about following the bridges. Don't burn a bridge. Be nice to everybody. And Joe recommended me to the people who were casting the Three Musketeers. And so I flew to New York and I auditioned. And Joe said to me at the time, if he was directing, he would have cast me as D'Artagnan. But, because I was kind of untried, they called me back and they said, well, if I can get to New York, there's a really good chance that I'd be considered for one of the other Musketeers. And I said, well, couldn't they just consider me if I don't go? And he said, well, of course they can consider you, but you know how it is. And I do know how it is. And so I hopped back on a plane and I flew to New York. And sure enough, I was cast as Athos, the senior musketeer. Very exciting. It was being directed by Tom O'Horgan, who was famous for directing Jesus Christ Superstar, the big hit show that has shaped all of mine and Frank's and all of my generation appreciation for modern musical theater. So I thought, how wonderful is that? A couple of weeks before we opened, things were kind of stumbling along and it was not coming together as well as they hoped. And so they brought in Joe Layton to replace Tom O'Horgan. And Joe came in and fixed the show, some last minute quick adjustments. And we had a pretty good show. It was pretty tight when we opened. We were opening at the Broadway Theater. And sadly, we opened on a Sunday and we closed the next Sunday. Boom. Okay, another wall comes up. Well, what can you do? Because I did have my Broadway debut, and our reviews as the Three Musketeers were relatively positive, so it was a really excellent introduction into Broadway. Then I was lucky. I came back to do a few more regional things. I did Curly in Oklahoma at the Starlight Bowl, which is a whole other story where the planes fly over. I did Camelot for the first time with, the first time since college. I'd done it at the University of Alabama, but I did Camelot with Noel Harrison at the Sacramento Music Circus. And then I had an opportunity in Los Angeles to audition for Into the Woods. And I met with James Lapine, and I thought I had a good audition, and boom, wall came up again. Oh well, what can you do? Not meant to be. But at the same time, trying to make my own opportunities, I just heard the cast album for The Mystery of Edwin Drood. I loved that show, and I heard Howard McGillen, and I said, oh my God, I can do this. So I wrote to the New York Shakespeare Festival, and I said, listen, when you guys come west, I would love a chance to be seen for the role of Jasper, so please consider me. And they wrote me back and they said, Mr. Wagner, because I had just been Automan, so I had some notoriety, would you consider replacing Howard in New York? And I said, would I consider it? So again, I hopped on a plane to New York. I had a great audition. They gave me wonderful seats to see the show. And while I was in New York, I was able to once again be seen again for Into the Woods. Now, sadly, I did not get cast for The Mystery of Edwin Drood, but when I did audition for Stephen Sondheim, he saw something in me that he liked. And so I got a callback. And again, the callback happened while I was in Los Angeles, and they said, well, they want to call you back. And I said, well, couldn't they consider me? And they said, well, of course they could consider you, but you know how it is. And I certainly do know how it is. So I hopped back on a plane, and sure enough, I got cast, and the rest is history. I've been very, very blessed. And as you can see from some of the earlier masterclasses, Into the Woods has been a great and wonderful part of my life, and still a part of my shows. And then I did the national tour as the Wolf and the Prince, and it was such an honor, such a thrill to be in part of that show. And then, boom, nothing's happening. Oh God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So I kept doing other things, and then I got a call from the Sacramento Music Circus again. Leland Ball, who had originally cast me as Lancelot with Noel Harrison, said, would you consider auditioning to be Lancelot again, this time with Robert Goulet, who's getting ready to produce it. It was a joint production of the Sacramento Music Circus and the Theater Under the Stars in Houston, Texas. And I said, are you crazy? Of course I would consider it. And I got cast. And so I got to be knighted Sir Lancelot by Broadway's original Lancelot, Robert Goulet. And that is truly one of the highlights of my career, and what a blessing to work with such a great star. No one sings How to Handle a Woman like he does. And then I got to be the first in the world to play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in Frank's Jekyll and Hyde. And we thought for sure it would come to Broadway right away. And again, boom, not so much. But the next year, we did another musical called Svengali, also at the Alley Theater, a joint production with the Alley and the Oslo Theater. Beautiful, beautiful production. I hope one day you'll get to see it on Broadway. It hasn't come yet, but I'm not dead yet. And in my opinion, it's some of Frank's greatest work. So I'm hoping that one day we get to revisit Svengali, whether it's me or another actor. It is beautiful music. It was another great highlight of my life, but again, it didn't go. So boom, what am I gonna do? Fortunately, that's when I started teaching my master classes. And thanks to Beth Crocker at the Jersey Village in Houston, she kind of started the ball rolling. And now over the years, I've been blessed to do masterclasses all over the country. So that started then, and that was a reinvention. And that's the key to Prevailure, is that when you reach that wall, don't bump up against it. You got to find a way around it, because the wall it's not a wall. It's just a block. It's a stone in the path, and you either have to make a left turn, a right turn, but pick a slightly different path. As long as you're on the same direction, keep faith, you're going to move forward, you're going to prevail. And so that's the key to this message. I've been blessed in my career. I was going to tell you a little bit more about it, and we're trying to do a million things at once. I'm creating a new sound studio here in the closet, and we're not going to spend much time in here. But every time you reach a dead end, boom, in your career, reach and path out. When things slowed down, I was lucky to be cast as the standby to the Beast and Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, and that led to 5 years as the Beast. When that slowed down, I tried to reassert myself, and that led to a little Disney thing. We'll come back to the exhausted me. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then it occurred to me to reconnect with Thomas Schumacher, who's the head of Disney Theatrical. He said, well, let me introduce you to Jeff Lee. He was in charge of the Disney ambassadors that perform on the Disney Cruise Line. And he said, if I could create a show that they could sell, they'll pitch it and see what happens. And so I did, and they liked it. And the show is called Living the Dream, and I've been doing it now for the last several years. Fortunately, it's branched out. I've done it on Oceania and Regent Seven Seas, and most frequently on Carnival Cruise Lines. It's why I love the fun ships, and they've been so nice to me, and their theaters are spectacular, and the sound is amazing. So it's a real blessing. But now that brings us to 2020, the ultimate brick wall, right? So the pandemic started in February, March. All the theaters are closed. All the schools are closed. Sometimes I do elder care. All the nursing homes are closed. I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I had this opportunity to audition for. Then I had to hit the actual workforce and saw this opportunity for VCS, customer service representative for Amazon at home. And I thought, well, it's worth a try. So I filled out the application and I started the interview process, and they liked me fine. It's a great service that Amazon gives. So that is another reinvention that I've had to do in this crazy COVID-soaked year. I share this with you just for the idea to let you know that you're always going to have challenges in your life. You're always going to have roadblocks that are going to seem virtually overwhelming at the time. And you can surrender to them. You can give up. You can consider this a failure. But if you do that, that's totally negative framing. Don't do it. Learn the lessons from the challenges you're given. Take them with grit, with grace, and with gratitude. And keep on trying until you prevail. Then don't be a failure. Be a prevailure. Another great reinvention that's happening right now is building of this studio, and I'm working on creating audio content here at home. So hopefully next year will be the beginning of a new career as a voiceover artist. Always reinvent, always keep the faith. I always promise a behind the scenes secret for every class, but for Prevailure, the main behind the scenes secret is gratitude. I feel so blessed to have my wife Susan that supports me. I have the most beautiful children, Stuart, who's 33 now, I think. And the same with my daughter Paige. Very proud of her. She's moved to Durango, Colorado with her boyfriend Alex Bohevia, who is a fine gentleman in his own right. And I feel very grateful that I feel very secure in the fact that they're taking care of each other. So just know the main secret to making any of this happen is gratitude. And I thank you for watching. I thank you for supporting me. Please like and subscribe. We're trying to build this as another detour avenue to try to create this YouTube content. But I hope it's a chance for us to just visit together. So please leave your Prevailure stories down here. And if you don't have a Prevailure story, or just you want to share a challenge that you're dealing with, we can open a dialogue and start trying to talk about that, and we'll find your win-win. One of the things that I most admire about the 4 years I studied trying to channel the spirit of P.T. Barnum was his confidence that in every deal there was a win-win scenario. So don't take losing as an option. Don't take failure as an option. Find that win-win where it's good for you and it's good for the community. So keep the faith, be nice to one another, and go out and vote. And I'll see you again next Monday.